Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome to the continuation of Camp Wicked Wilds, this week's Campfire tale. But man, ooh, everybody's in trouble this week. We got another intimate one. We got one of those ones where things get weird. This is one where it's only me and Jeff again. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm actually doing really well. I got my Sasquatch underwear on tonight, so
But wait, what? Like when you
yeah.
say,
Yeah.
is it like underwear made from Sasquatch, or is it just underwear with Sasquatch on it?
I'm just gonna leave that to to everybody out there. So
Let me ask you a question. Let me,
yeah.
before we get on this, let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
Let's say, with all this stuff going on, because I don't know, did you see that video over the weekend
Which
where
one?
that Bigfoot, the US fire caught what looks like a Bigfoot walking across the hill?
No, I didn't. I have to check it
So
out. Yeah.
yeah, you have to watch this video. It may be the craziest Bigfoot video I've ever saw because
Mhm.
like it was US like the whatever wildlife whatever, so it was like whatever company, and like they fly around in helicopters during wildfire season,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
see if they see smoke, right? So like they have their camera on there and they're going on this hill and you hear them talking, and then the one guy goes, "What the fuck is that?" And you see this big, tall, furry thing walking on two legs across the open hillside, and it like keeps looking up at the noise, like presumably the noise of the helicopter,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're like, "What is that? What is that?" And that thing was bumping, it was speeding, and I was like, but let me ask you a question. So it's looking like some of these cryptids are coming out of shadows, Bigfoot,
Yeah.
aliens, whatever. If someone came to you and goes, "Hey, I'm selling underwear,
Mhm.
but it's made from like Bigfoot's fur or like alien skin, uh, donkey lady hair," like, you wearing them? Would you wear underwear made by cryptid fur and skin?
Probably, yeah. Mhm.
Really?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be worried about like any type of like weird side effect
No. I think I'd be good.
or like curse on your like junk?
I don't think cryptids curse people, right? Like, I mean,
I mean, like some of them, it's a curse to see them, and I'm assuming if their skin's actually touching your wiener, like that would be that would have to be curseable, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess and
I mean,
possible.
I I don't know, I don't
Is
know.
this video fucking real?
Yeah, that's what they can't they haven't disproved it yet. It's crazy, isn't it?
Like I'm watching it. It's the Colorado in
Yeah,
Colorado.
yeah. Is it not the most insane video you've ever seen in your life? You see him
Dude,
like
what the
trucking across
fuck?
the
Yeah,
hillside.
yeah. And then like it's
Fucking
crazy because like he sits down and almost blends in. Like
yeah.
you know what I mean?
It's batshit. It's not like it was some like asshole in the fucking woods. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like fucking
yeah.
every video. Like,
That's a little crazy. Like
yeah, yeah.
wow.
When I remember when I watched that, I like it was one of those things where I'm like, oh, another Bigfoot video, and like I was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
drinking,
yeah.
and I almost did the like what? Because he like you can see where he's like trucking, and he keeps
Yeah,
like
yeah,
looking up, like what that fucking sound in the sky, and then he's just like, well, pop down here and hide because
yeah.
I don't know what's
That's
going on,
nuts. That looks crazy. Like
right? That blew your mind.
mm-hmm,
That blew your mind.
mm-hmm.
Well, hey, I got something else to blow your mind.
Okay.
Uh, Last week we watched the movie Mandy. Have you ever seen Mandy?
Nope.
Don't do it. It's terrible.
Yeah. It
But it's
looked
kind
bad.
it's awful. But it's kind of like a mix of like this occult mysticism, whatever. So I thought we'd talk about granddaddy of cult mysticism and the legend of his absolute hog he was walking around Russia with. Tonight we're gonna be talking about Rasputin. You know much about Rasputin?
I don't actually know that much about him. I know there was a weird song about him,
There was.
and I thought he wasn't he like a couldn't he like tell the future or something?
He
Right?
claimed to. He claimed a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
things. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he was
That's about all I know about him.
well, hey, let me take you on a little story, right?
Okay,
Uh you know what the closest thing I can tell you to expect out of this?
what's that?
This is like the bloody harps meet mm, the bloody harps meet Dale Gribble meet an idiot.
Jesus
If they
Christ.
are one person. hey, Rasputin was born January 1869 in Siberia, which is I at this point I don't know much about it other than everything I read is like it's winter all the time. Basically, at the time in Russia too, as well, they would shuffle most of their poors and people they didn't want to deal with to Siberia.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was like a prison area or something like
Yeah,
that.
not a great place. Pretty much everyone that lived there spent most of their life not dying by they're like doing what farming they could, and hunting, and like it's apparently not very easy to live there at the time.
No, hospitable.
Yeah, not apparently Siberia, not a fun time. Back then. Maybe now it's different. You got snowmobiles and like electric heat. But at the time, it was all wood, and I think they burned poop and stuff.
Right.
But he would grow up to be what some would argue, besides the Pope, the position of the Pope himself, Rasputin may become one of the most known mystic and holy men of the modern time. And the weird thing about him is that if you look at his story and how he came all this, the fact that no one went, well, this seems weird, is shocking. And this man, who was known to be a great bullshitter, somehow managed to bullshit his way into being like very close proximity and like friend and advisor of the last emperor of Russia.
That's crazy.
And what's even crazier is because of his bullshit, he's actually one of the blames of the fall of the Romanov house in Russia, which is the revolt and the ending of the emperors of Russia at the time. Because this emperor was really into him, and everybody's like, let's get. Then it got a little weird. So he basically in his youth, his parents were farmers. I think his parents had like 9 kids, and he was one of 2 to survive.
Oh wow!
They all die like in childbirth or like pretty quickly because I'm assuming babies don't like.
It was 1869.
Right. Yeah, right. And apparently, in his youth, he did not enjoy farming life or being in Siberia. And he was known for becoming very drunk and causing a ruckus, being what the legal term at the time was unruly, as he would like throw snow at people, some like just be general ass clown. He's probably drunk. Being accused of blasphemy.
It's pretty serious.
A pretty serious crime. Stealing horses, and my favorite, disrespecting authority, apparently would make fun of the local priest and government officials. So he did not like farming, but that was his life. And then he ended up getting married, and he had a couple kids. He would still get drunk. He also had a reputation. A lot of people in the town didn't like him because he was always trying to sleep with everybody else in town.
Well,
and so people didn't like it. And he was also a known horse thief, but they could never catch him. And then he said a divine intervention caused him to have a premonition one day. But if you look at the history books, it seems like they may have found some proof that he stole some horses. But he decided in 1897 that he had a divine intervention that he needed to become, at the time, what they called a wandering monk, which he technically wasn't a monk because that's a position named by the church.
Yeah.
And that he needed to go on a pilgrimage to a holy site somewhere else in Russia that he was going to walk to. And he left immediately. Left his wife and his children.
Like, I'm gone.
And so he's like, hey, I gotta go on this holy walk.
Yeah.
The other weird thing too, when he left, he had hardly any education, didn't know how to read or write. Also, he was known for not being very clean and smelling really bad. So, hey, that was his life. He left, started his pilgrimage, everybody he met, he told them that he was a monk, but he had no affiliation with the church, did not work for them. And he ended up meeting another priest who, like, oh, well, this is a weird monk because he doesn't know how to read or write. Not just like a monk. It's got dirty, smells bad.
Smells gross, yeah.
So they decided to finish their pilgrimage together. And so during this time, he taught him to read and write. He also said he quit drinking, which was not true. He just quit drinking like vodka.
Okay.
He was still drinking large amounts of wine.
Yeah.
But he was like, you can't get drunk on wine. He's like, because of my abilities.
Yeah.
You get drunk on wine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody knows that, right?
That seems legitimate.
Yeah. Hey, he also somehow got described as being dirtier and smellier.
Jesus.
During this walk, and he would just like walk around, and when he's like not around people, they would say he would loudly pray and sing a lot. So like,
So
if he was by himself,
generally insane, like,
yeah, he was just like walking around. And then what's weird is he started getting this like little cult following of people that started following him, and it was real weird. So then they made it to the Holy Land, to this church. Apparently, according to the history, all the monks were like, well, this guy's a real monk. He doesn't.
Yeah, like, what do you like?
He doesn't know anything. There was also some speculation he may have been some stealing. And then he decided, my pilgrimage is over. I'm going to return home and start a church. And so him and his little cult following he had left. So they show back up in Siberia. But let me ask you this question, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's partly believed, like I said, how he like slept with a bunch of people around town.
Right.
Apparently, part of the reason is dude had a massive wiener. Just
okay.
Do you think that's why he got a cult following? Because like, who wants to follow the stinky, dirty cult leader that screams prayers and sings a lot?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't know why anybody else would like want to follow him. Like, like you look at Jim Jones with Jonestown, like before he started doing the drugs, he was like charismatic, good looking guy, not dirty and stinky.
Well, I mean, the standards are probably different back then, obviously, So
I guess that's true. I guess it is like late.
People are weird. People follow anything, like, especially like, think about like this. You live in Siberia, like there's nothing there. So anything that offers you a little glimpse of, hope or salvation or whatever you want to call it, you're going to latch onto because, you have nothing else going on in your life. It's like everybody's seeking some sort of, something.
I feel like if I was following that call, like, man, I'm going to follow this weird guy. And he's like, hey, we're going to Siberia. But I'm like, ugh.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I'd be like, you know what? I think I'll go this way.
I'm sure there were people that were like, nah, I'm good. Like,
no, thank you. Where'd you say? Siberia? No, thank you.
Yeah, like, no.
Wait, some of them followed. And so then when he got back to Siberia, by this point, his wife and children, they couldn't afford their home anymore. So they had to move in with his parents. And so then he just showed up at his parents. Was like, hey, I'm home. I'm going to, by the way, this is my gang. They're going to live with us too.
This is my cult.
And we're all going to live here now. And they're like, well, what are you going to do for work? He's like, I'm a monk. Working. I'm a member of the church. He's like, I'm going to lead a church. So he went to the church and they're like, well, when did you become ordained? He's like, well, I'm not. Because at the time, like in Russia, they treated religion very like, at the time, but like it was real serious, the Russian Orthodox Church and things like that. So so church was like, well, then you can't fucking teach here. Like, what are you talking about? And so then he's like, what's the next best thing to do? I'm going to turn my parents' basement into a secret church.
Oh, secret church.
You would think his parents would kick him out at this point, right? Like, if that was your kid, he's like, hey, I'm dirty and I stink. You've been taking care of my wife and my child. I brought a gang with me, and we're just going to start up a secret church down here.
Mom! I'm in church in the basement.
Where's the meatloaf?
Yeah.
What if I told you and it got worse for him?
I don't know how that's possible, but all
Well,
right.
because he around this time he started saying like he was basically like a communication piece for God. He received messages
Oh, okay.
and visions to teach the people and help people.
Got it. Yeah.
Well, then all of a sudden, some of these like weird things he started requiring, like not his wife, but other members, because he actually started tracking some people in town.
Sure.
But like female members would have to bathe him
Obviously.
before the
Yeah.
service, which
Yep.
everybody was like, that's kind of weird.
God said, I don't know what to tell
It's
you.
also weird because everyone like throughout his whole life, people always talked about how bad he stunk. But like, so like, oh, they had to bathe him. But like, why did he still stink?
Oh.
Like everything I kept reading, like I keep hearing all the stories like him being bathed, but like he always stunk. Also,
Wait, where did you say he was from? Siberia.
Siberia, yeah.
Okay.
In Russia, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he also then started telling his people that they had to practice self-flagellation. He told them he was practicing it too,
but never had any marks or anything.
But never known or saw it.
He might have been.
And then the rumor came out
beating himself some way.
Well, it's funny you say that because then the rumor came out that they started practicing at the time a way to reach euphoria so that they all could try to speak to God, of having orgies in this basement.
Yeah.
Now, here's where history gets a little weird. They say some witnesses say, well, that never happened, which were typically the men. They're always like, well, no, we never had any.
They just weren't invited.
But then like a bunch of the women involved were like, oh yeah, we used to all the time.
Yeah.
So like,
seems peculiar.
Seems a little weird. Also in this church, he started displaying his powers. You will never guess what some of these powers are. He had properties of healing. He always knew why someone was sick and how to heal them. And if it was a disease of the spirit, he would use his strongest healing power, which would involve him spitting on you or spitting in stuff and you eating and drinking it.
Nice.
Yeah. So let's say, Jeff, it's late 1800s, right? You come down with something, you don't know what it is, you're very sick. And your wife's like, hey, there's no doctor here because who wants the fuck to live here?
Yeah.
But the guy says he works for the church and he says he can heal you. And in walks this tall, like intense staring, stinky man wearing all black, and comes in and just starts spitting on you and like spitting in your water, like, drink this. Are you gonna do it?
It depends on what I got, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, if it's like I got a cold, I'm like, no, I'll probably. I think I'll pass.
Like, I'm gonna wait a couple more days.
Yeah. Like I'll see. I'll ride this one out. You know. But...
And then he's like, before I heal you, I'm gonna need a bath. He's like, look at you guys, like,
yeah, it's like, we'll go take one.
Yeah, like, we can't help you here.
Yeah.
He could also read people's minds. But everything that I read, it sounded like he was like one of those TV psychics where he'd be like, oh, you're thinking of a name. Is it John?
Yeah, like
John James?
Like crowd reading,
Jimmy?
and like that kind of stuff.
Jimmy? Abigail? Like, like that.
Yep.
He also had the power of perfect hypnosis. So, which he never failed it. He could hypnotize people to either get them to talk to God or like angels or whoever, to like help yourself remember things. And if it was something that he couldn't heal, he would hypnotize you to heal yourself.
Yeah.
He also, which I don't know how this is a power, but a lot of people brought it up. They considered him a collector of secrets. Anybody could tell him a secret, and we'll find out he always kept it secret, but he always remembered the secret. Apparently that was a power. And then this last power,
that's a pretty common power. I think you just like people tell you something, and you're like,
I'm sure he didn't write anything down.
Yeah.
And the last one, it's not so big. There's technically two more. One more is he claimed he could talk to spirits and dead people, like the spirits and heaven and stuff like that. And he was immoral.
Well, that's obviously
no big deal. Yeah. There was a couple assassination attempts on his life, and what's weird is like they're always like, oh, he always brushed it off. It was like fine, but then they're always like, but then he went to the hospital for 3 months.
Yeah, he was doing good work. He was just doing work at the hospital.
Oh, that's what he was doing. Okay. So anyway, so they were in this town, and like he was actually building more followers. He was somehow getting word to people he met on the road, like they were coming. And from what I imagine this small farming, place in Siberia was a lot like where I grew up in West Virginia, and they didn't take too kindly to anybody who was a little different. Because all these people are coming, the town's getting mad. They're hearing about bathing this guy who's got powers and orgies. And so Rasputin was like, you know what? I'm feeling a little uncomfortable here. He's like, I'm going to. He had a vision. I need to go to St. I need to make more pilgrimages, and one of them I need to go to St. Petersburg to the big church. And so him and his entourage, they left for St. Petersburg.
Okay.
Leaving his wife and children.
Well, I mean, what do you need them for?
Well, yeah, you don't want them in the way, right?
Right. They're going to cramp your style, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So then in 1904, he made his way to St. Petersburg, capital of Russia. And he started going to the church a bunch. And the church was like, oh, are you part of the church? And he was like, yep. And like Christ, I think it's Christ how you say it, which is the word for priest. And like they're like, oh, are you? He's like,
yeah, okay.
He's like, yep. He's like, I sure am a priest. Yep. And they're like, oh, you work for the church? He's like, yep.
Sure. He's like, sure.
Well, they started looking into this because they verify it. Well, in the meantime, he's like, that's not the way to do it. So he started like just showing up around like a bunch of high political and rich people. Somehow made it his way to the leaders of the church. They still don't even know how he did that. Assuming his political connections. And then starts showing off his powers and knowledge. And everybody's like, whoa, this guy's cool.
Yeah, like this fella.
Okay. Yeah, he's like reading our minds and talking to spirits. It was weird. All the women loved him. Which you find out he started sleeping with most of them.
Yeah.
But like he was doing all this crazy stuff. And then he met what they call the Dark Twins or the Dark Witches, which was the Emperor's twin cousins who were considered like creepy and morbid because they always wore black and they were real into like spirits and seances and like mysticism and weird shit.
Okay.
And he like proved his powers to them and like for the rest of his life, they followed him and like helped him get connected and stuff. And so then they were like, man, we want to introduce you to our cousin, the Emperor. And he has a sick kid. And we hear you can heal people. So you come with us. So he did. Now, the Emperor's son, he had hemophilia.
Okay.
They didn't really know what it was at the time. They don't even know if Rasputin knew what was wrong with this kid. But somehow he kept making him better. And the one theory is I read is that he was just the luckiest guy in the world. Because a lot of times with hemophilia, depending on where they're bleeding, it is just a like sit and wait for it to stop, just lay down.
Yeah.
And like a lot of time his remedy was just, I'll just tell him to lay down. And they're like, they don't know if he like learned about it in his travels or if it was just like a lucky guess. He would also like spit on this child. Spit in his drink. He would also make him like concoctions to drink. But like he was always keeping this kid alive and healing it. And so ever then he became very close to the Emperor. And then like he started like it was almost like Game of Thrones. He started like learning all these secrets with the twins, and then they were like manipulating the system and getting all of his people like up in these high positions in the church and the government. And then like the Emperor started coming to him for advice. And then he started getting like crazier with his miracles and stuff. And then he was like sleeping with everybody's wives and like girlfriends and stuff. So this may shock you, but pretty soon, a lot of political folks didn't like him. One, because they were losing access to the emperor because he always went to Rasputin. Two, they did not appreciate him sleeping with most of their wives.
Yeah, I mean that's a thing, I guess. They're just being babies.
Yeah, probably. The church also didn't like him because instead of the emperor coming to the church for like the religious stuff, they were just going to Rasputin, and so much so that apparently this was the most important job in the palace. But instead of the church having their representatives handle lighting the candles in the religious icons in the palace, the king declared that Rasputin would do it. And apparently there was a lot of times he forgot to do it, but that was his job. And he got given the title of lamplighter.
Oh, well, there you go.
He was the lamplighter.
Yeah.
So the church was really upset with him, right? So World War II starting up, and Rasputin is like making a lot of decisions. They think a lot of the wrong decisions that occurred leading into World War I with Russia was because of Rasputin. And a lot of ill sentiment had fallen on the emperor because stuff was getting rough in Russia from the war, and they felt like he was doing a bad job. They also did not like Rasputin and like all of his shit. So high ranking like members of the government and the church decided that they needed to get rid of Rasputin.
Okay.
And they tried assassinating him once. They had someone run up and stab him in the stomach.
He's immortal, so I don't.
Well, you're right, because he stabbed in the stomach, and he just got up and was like, "I'm fine." Went to the hospital for 3 months, came back, was like, "Totally fine. Just needed some rest and relaxation." Then, when that didn't work, they shortly after, the Tsar or the Emperor, he went with the troops, which doesn't make any sense. But he went with the troops to make sure they were like training right and setting up stuff right. Which why he would leave the capital during war, I don't know, but he did, and he left his wife and Rasputin in charge. So these members decided this was the best time to assassinate him. So now, this man claimed for years that the heavens and spirits told him the future, and that he always knew when great calamity or when things were coming, whether or not people were going to die. He did not see this coming.
Well, I mean,
because they invited him, like, it was like late at night, it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and they sent a message to him. They said, "Hey, we're sitting here enjoying some tea and cakes at 9:30, 10 o'clock like you do. How would you like to come and eat some tea and cake with us?"
Yeah, seems cool. I mean,
so that's what Rasputin thought.
He's just a nice guy.
He's like, "Hey, I'm down." He's like, "Yeah, sure." So he goes to their house, and apparently he like drinks a tea, and then he eats like 3 cakes by himself because they're like personal cakes, I guess. But everyone's shocked because apparently they had laced the tea and cakes with cyanide.
Oh, okay.
And he wasn't dying. So then he, after housing down some, even though they try to poison them, but still, like the team play, he housed down all their tea cakes. He then looks at them and goes, "Oh, can I have a glass of wine?" And they're like, "Oh, okay," but they put poison in it. And then he proceeded to drink like 3 glasses of wine. And they're like, and by this point they're shocked. And the guy's like, "I don't know what to do." So the one guy's like, "Hold on." So he goes upstairs, gets his pistol, and he goes, "Hey, Rasputin, can you come down to my basement with me? I have
come over here for a second."
Yeah, he's like, "I have I'd like you to pray to the cross and bless my home, whatever." And Rasputin's like, "Oh yeah, sure, yeah, whatever, yeah, sure." And so he gets down there, and that guy shoots him in the back. Rasputin collapses. They're like, "All right, we got him. We killed him. The poison didn't kill him. We shot him."
A pistol in the back got him.
So then they're like, well, they didn't want to get caught by the police, and they didn't want the emperor's wife to suspect them. So they're like, "Hey,
okay,
we're gonna dress up one of you like Rasputin. We're gonna drive by his house like we're taking you home. Then we'll come back here and we'll clean up his body." So that's what they do. They're gone for like an hour, right? They come back, and the one guy who shot him's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go downstairs. Make sure he's actually dead. He's not breathing, and then we can go." And they're gonna dump him in the river. So he gets down there, and Rasputin's laying there, and he gets to the bottom of the steps, and Rasputin jumps up and proceeds to beat the ever-loving shit out of him. The other guys upstairs here, they're all coming down, and apparently, like, as they're coming down the steps, it's like a scene from fucking John Wick. Rasputin is fighting his way up.
Holy fuck,
beating the shit out of people, right? He manages to get outside after beating the shit, like, he's just beating the fuck out of all these guys.
Yeah.
And one of them stabs him, and he's still just beating the shit away. And so then they shoot and hit him in the forehead. He collapses in the snow. And they're like, what the fuck? So a couple of them were real fucked up. They couldn't help. But the people that could help him still, they're like, listen, we're going to wrap him up in a carpet. We're going to take him to the bridge. We're going to dump him in the river. And so they're driving with them in the car. And apparently at one point he like wakes up and tries to get out of the blanket again. And they shoot him for the third time, which finally kills him.
Yeah.
Well, they think, because they throw him over the bridge. What they didn't account for was it was January and the river was frozen solid. So
nice.
He didn't go in the river. He hit the
ice.
He hit the ice. And they just left. So like, fuck it. Like, they couldn't go to court for a couple days because like they all were like black and bloody and bruised and just had this shit down.
Yeah.
But the next morning, the police were making the rounds, and they see a bloody streak on the ice below the bridge. He had managed to crawl to the side of the thing before finally apparently dying.
Wow, dude.
It's crazy, right? So, police called. They take him to the basically like the medical examiner right at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's where history gets a little fuzzy.
Okay.
Because they don't know how accurate some of this stuff is, how many times he shot, if he drowned, what happened.
Right. Yeah.
Because of one, the twins were involved because they're like they thought he was gonna come back to life, and they want to do all these rituals and stuff. And then but they didn't want to piss off the sentiment of, because at this point St. Petersburg, like, everybody wanted to like overthrow the government.
Right.
And they didn't want to make the church mad or whatever, stuff like that. So you hear all these stories, but the one story that's a little weird, and that is kind of relevant still today. Apparently, when the medical examiner got him, it was fine in his report. One of the weird things was, he's like, oh, by the way, his penis is missing. And
what
so they're like, oh, whoever killed him must have cut it off, because it was kind of like this unknown secret that he was just sleeping his way across Russia, and that apparently he had a big hog. Some stories is even that the medical examiner, they think, cut his penis off because he was sleeping with his wife.
Okay.
Wouldn't you know, in the late it was like the late 1900s or 2000s, someone came forward, was like, my family has had Rasputin's penis in a jar of alcohol this whole time, and it now sits in a museum in St. Petersburg.
Boom.
A sex museum, but a museum not the same.
It's a museum nonetheless, yeah.
And some people, they've had multiple people look at it, and some people go, yep, that's a human penis. And other people are like, well, this is the size of a cow's penis. But they're like, he had a legendary big wiener, and he wouldn't die. So
yeah. Could be. Yep.
And then shortly after that, they also believe that when he was murdered, that he cursed all of Russia, because shortly after that, the Tsar, the Romanov house fell. It's a famous point in history.
Yeah.
People turned against the emperor because, what was happening. They ended up killing most of them. And that was kind of the end of emperors and like the Tsar line in Russia. All because a guy with a big wiener wouldn't die.
I don't know. You're not making a strong case that he wasn't awesome. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, first off, like, he smelled bad wherever he went.
Yeah, I mean, I bet everybody smelled bad in Siberia in
Well, but when he was
1869.
like working with the government and stuff, like he didn't need to smell bad still.
I mean,
And
like, okay, but like, does that really outweigh the fact that he got shot 3 times and still beat the shit out of a bunch of people? Like, you know what I
no.
mean?
Listen, that is pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, yeah.
They even, and like what's kind of crazy too, like the other this other little side story is like the government officials who had weirdly bruised faces and like look like they're all like, oh, we looked at the body, he was shot once. They're like, well, how'd you get that black eye? He's like, walked to the door.
Yeah, well, fell down the steps.
But no, it is the other crazy thing too, like some people point out, like so with his like with their son, like said that he did keep that boy alive.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
And like obviously he wasn't a doctor, he didn't know shit.
He was just like a grifter.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like,
right.
I mean, you know,
and either he was like the luckiest guy in the world because like I doubt he knew anything about hemophilia.
No, he just like, well,
something's happening. He was spitting on a kid. They said he used to like he'd look like they have bruises, you know. He'd be like he'd just start spitting on it, like rubbing it in,
Yeah. You
know?
He's like, we'll get this fixed up.
And they're like that him rubbing was thinning out the blood, so it wasn't pulling, and the body reabsorb it. People were like, well, do you think he knew that? And like everybody's like, we don't know how. He didn't even learn to read until he was an adult male, like walking on the road with a monk.
Well, maybe, you know.
So did you ever see a picture of him?
Yeah.
He had an intense stare.
Yeah.
And
if I'm sweet beard, like
he did have a sweet beard. And if I'm being honest, you could smell him just from looking at that picture.
You know what he reminded me of when I saw that picture? He reminded me of the Rings of Power Gandalf. Whenever
yes, a little bit. I mean?
Like,
a smelly hobo looking fella.
Yeah.
Walking on the road somewhere he shouldn't be.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what?
I think they based that character on him.
Well, they didn't base off anything in the Lord of the Rings, so
well, why would they? I mean,
so it makes perfect sense. You know what though? A lot of stuff is based off Rasputin. There's like there's characters in H.P. Lovecraft that's kind of like him. You know, he was a character in the Kingsman prequel, that shitty Kingsman prequel.
Oh yeah,
which they're doing a sequel to, and I wouldn't.
That one was awful.
Yeah, not great.
Wait, did I even watch that one? I watched the one. No, you know what? I didn't see that. The second one was awful.
Oh, they did a prequel.
Yeah, I knew there was a prequel where they were like in Russia.
Voldemort started the Kingsman, apparently.
Voldemort, yeah, Voldemort.
So. Yeah. And then like Rasputin was one of the villains, it was weird. Like,
yeah, that seems peculiar
because he like does this thing where he's like killing people, but like the guy orgasms or something, and you're like, he was never into dudes.
Like what's
happening doing here?
Yeah, but that's weird.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of characters, weirdo people, all based on him. Yeah. I don't know if he had powers or not, but I know he was apparently one pissed off some bitch. Someone tried to kill him. I wish they'd make a movie about that.
Yeah, they should.
But like let's do Keanu Reeves as Rasputin.
As Rasputin. Yep. Oh, yeah,
and like it's basically just John Wick, except for it's a smelly guy who's lying that he's a monk in a priest.
Yeah.
But everybody knows he's not.
Yeah, everybody's like, this guy fucking
because like that was the thing. Like at first, like when the church realized it, when he was like in St. Petersburg, they're like, well, we're not gonna say anything because like, the emperor really likes him. But then when they were turning on him, they're like, this guy's not even a real priest. And everybody was like, yeah, we don't care about this point.
Yeah, like I mean, like
he spit on me and healed me. He let me talk to my dead dad.
Yeah, it's fine.
He could see the future. Because and I don't even know if he actually claimed to see the future, but like people like Emperor always called him like, my son's dying. He's like, he ain't gonna die. God told me ain't time yet. They're like, oh, he can see the future.
Oh my God! Like, yeah.
Are you saying like people like the Emperor was JR from WWE or from wrestling?
Oh my God! Oh my God!
My boy is alive. Yeah. Oh my God. Listen, all I know is, this year of the wiener. I talked about the biggest wiener in all of occultness.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I said, I mean, he's seems like a not a bad fella overall.
But you mean besides the lying and like abandoning his wife and children,
Well, I mean, once again,
spitting on people,
you know,
never showering apparently.
that's. I mean, what are you gonna do?
I question sometimes when you stand up for people, or like when you sometimes you pick a side, and I question why you
Gotta
choose the
question that.
sides you choose. Because I
I'm
mean,
sure it's fine.
imagine like now, right? Some stinky, smelly guy spitting on you, be like, I can heal you, see the future, and talk dead.
Yeah, yeah.
Are
I
you gonna
think the
think he's cool?
spitting. No, I mean the spitting on you thing is a little. It's like, come on, fella, come
He's
on.
like, my spit heals people, though.
Yeah, yeah. Does it though? I mean,
He's like, can you prove it does it? That's what he'd say.
I guess that's true. You got me there, guy.
Just
I
saying.
cannot prove it doesn't. Like fucking, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Early 1900s, people weren't real smart.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot
But
of I don't know what the best word for it is. Unintelligent folks.
yeah.
You know.
The other
Yeah.
thing that was weird, I realized, because
What's
like
that?
sometimes I think I forget like how much history or like weird events all happen around each other. He died 2 years after the Titanic sank.
Oh wow.
Is that like that wasn't that long ago?
No, that wasn't that long ago. Like, I
It,
mean, in the grand scheme of things,
yeah, so I mean, like the grand scheme of things, like that was like, isn't that kind of crazy?
Yeah, that's really weird.
He died two
Like,
years after the Titanic sank.
what the fuck?
But
Like,
think about it, right?
what?
Yeah, like, dude, when I read that, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, well, that didn't happen that long ago.
Yeah, that wasn't. I mean, it was a while back, but it wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just a little over 100 years ago.
Hmm.
Right? If I do my math right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just a little over 100 years ago. But like in the grand scheme of like human history, like it's not that long ago. Like the Titanic sank. He didn't do anything to stop it.
Well, I mean, was he on the Titanic?
No.
No,
He was probably having sex with everybody in St. Petersburg
probably.
and spitting on people.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. All I'm saying is if he'd have spat on the Titanic
It would have been. It would have been better.
before it left,
Hmm?
it might have went right past that iceberg. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And then and if you think about too, right? He died just a couple years before movies were a thing. Right? Wasn't movies like 1920s?
I don't actually know, to be honest with you.
When did the first movie come out? Oh my god, the first movie came out in 1888 in England. No, never
Yeah.
mind. Let me look at this though. What happened in 1916? Let's look and see all the things that happened the year he died. Let's see here. A lot of stuff happened. The first successful blood transfusion occurred while he
Okay.
was alive. A bunch of stuff I don't know about or care about. Someone was arrested in the US talking about how they could make birth control.
Nice.
That happened. A bunch of fighting. Dude, the Ottoman Empire was still a thing, which was Dracula,
Yeah. 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 That's kind of crazy, actually.
That's like it's weird how like that's all like close together. The toggle light switch was invented. So he saw the birth of the toggle light switch.
Of the toggle light switch, yeah.
Like,
that's kind of nuts.
Wow.
He knows what's up.
I'm just saying, like a lot of stuff happened. And then like did it happen because he died?
Hmm.
Like Woodrow Wilson signs a bill to create the Boy Scouts of America after he died that year. Is that his fault?
It could be Woodrow Wilson. That son of a bitch.
The shark attacks that occurred that inspired the book Jaws occurred shortly after he died.
Huh, nice.
Yeah. Is that blowing your mind?
I'm getting a little bit of the heebie-jeebies, as they say.
Well, hey, if that heebies your jeebies, the grocery store Piggly Wiggly was found shortly after he died.
Nice. I wonder, did he found Piggly Wiggly? Like he got it started,
Wait,
right?
Are you saying that like he died, but it was a fake? He did it to slip to America,
probably,
so he could start the grocery store Piggly Wigglies.
Yeah. I mean, that seems reasonable, doesn't it?
Listen, you know what?
Completely reasonable.
Hey, listen. I'm not even. I could see the argument being made, but can I ask you one follow-up question though that I feel makes it kind of weird?
Okay.
If that was the case, why did he cut off his penis before he came?
I mean, you're assuming that's his real penis, though. I mean, that's I mean,
who else penis would it be?
It could be anybody's penis. I mean, if you're gonna hold on to a penis for that long, do you really care whose it is? I mean, if you're if you're a penis hoarder, like you're one of those people.
Are there penis hoarders?
Obviously.
Hey, you want to know something else creepy?
What's that?
So remember how I said he died 2 years after the Titanic sank?
Yeah.
Shortly after his death, the Titanic's sister ship, the Britannic, sank.
That sounds like a made-up thing.
What, the Britannic?
Ship. Yeah, I never heard of that.
Apparently, it's a sister ship to the Titanic. I don't know. It doesn't look anything. Oh, it kind of looks like the Titanic. A little bit, I guess.
A little bit.
Man, a lot of stuff happened. Oh, wait, I forgot. That's right. He died at the end of the year. So all this stuff happened while he was alive.
While he was still alive.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. It was also the first time the Summer Olympics were canceled. Was
because of Rasputin died.
Well, World War I, but sure. Oxycodone was created the year he died. Let's see here. And actually the first Society of Motion Pictures and Televisions was created the year he died.
Started that year.
Yeah. So hey. That is that all happened.
Yeah, a lot going on.
Yeah, lot going on with Rasputin.
Old Rasputin.
Next time a guy who smells bad tells you that he can spit on you and make you feel better, I want you to remember this story.
Okay.
Because if he would turn virile and attack you, he's probably gonna beat the shit out of you.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously.
Because I
ain't fucking around.
Either that dude was incredibly drunk that he wasn't feeling anything, or those people's weapons weren't very good.
Well, I mean, it was, once again, the time period wasn't exactly a fantastic time period for technology, but
True. I mean, he was stabbed, so
yeah, that's true. Fucking got him.
He got shot in the head and still fighting. Oh, yeah. So that's Rasputin. Anything else you say about it?
I don't think so. I mean, he seems pretty awesome.
That is not the reaction I thought you were going to give.
Well, I mean,
I thought as soon as I said that he was like walking around sleeping with everybody and spitting on them, you'd be like, this guy's gross. But like, I did not expect you to think he was.
Well,
so cool.
I mean, you can be gross and awesome. You know what I mean?
Can you?
I mean, yeah, technically,
I really like Keanu Reeves, but if I ever meet him in person, I'm like, oh, hello, Mr. Reeves, I'm a big fan. He goes, like spits on me. I'm like, okay, well,
Oh, there goes that.
Or if he's like, oh, nice to meet you. By the way, I slept with your whole family. I'm like, well, that's it's a little odd.
Oh, No big deal.
I'm like, "Are you a priest?" He's like, "Technically."
Sure. Like, sure. Like fucking
Oh, man.
sure, yeah.
Well, hey, everybody. I hope you enjoy listening about a man who smelled bad, had orgies in his parents' basement, which seemed really weird, while his wife was there because they lived in the basement.
Mhm.
Seems really weird too. Now I'm saying this stuff out loud, the story's getting weirder and weirder, and I don't like it. So on that note, hey, thanks for listening. You catch us next time on Campfire Tales. You can also check our website, lookwild.com. Check us out on the Instagram, Slasher, the horror version of Twitter, um, and all that fun stuff. And as the cool kids used to say, hey, mister, don't spit on me. I don't need no healing today.
I don't need no healing.
Not today. Bye.